Hi there, gentlemen. So I met on the phone yesterday with Dave O, and obviously we had a bit of a conversation. I'm sure he's going to pass that information along to you, but I would thought for the benefit of Dan and me, Joe, I just wanted to kind of discuss what me and Dave O had gone over. So just a couple of quick points. So the first thing we discussed was that at the moment the way Bevintel is handling your inventory is not really working terribly well because we haven't done the extra work and jumped through the hoops necessary to fix the point of sale setup. We talked about how we would fix that issue. The short answer is we need to program a lot more buttons, but it's absolutely doable within Aloha. And obviously, we'd need to balance the operational challenges that adding new buttons might have with the benefits. But just wanted to show you on our reports. This is the first page of our standardized reports, and you see down here where my cursor is, there's this percentage rung as unknown. So what that does in our reports is it measures the percentage of your point of sale rings that are being rung up as I know the amount but I don't know the product, and we monitor that, and that's part of this score for point of sale. These guys, because they're at 1% or less, they got 2 out of 2 for that. So it's just one example of how we kind of take that seriously. We certainly don't allow clients to just have poor point of setup and let it impact results. This is a new bar we started working with, and you see that in 5 weeks we got them up to 98%. And the difference between, I think Davo said that you guys are sort of at 93%. Well, the difference between being at 93 and 98% is really the ability to really dial in the results and see what specific issues we're having. Here's our old friend Fireball here, and we had this down to the serving, and because we're not ringing up a lot to unknown, we can be more confident in that number. So that's the first thing, is that we would fix the point of sale, and I think we place a greater importance on this sort of thing. Then while we're here on this page, another little thing that actually we didn't discuss yesterday is this inventory ratio. So what this is, it's comparing the amount of inventory you have in stock in each category with what you're using per week. So in this case, these guys they have about four overall. This 4.51. It shows that they've got 4.5 times what they use each week on hand, which is, from experience, that's a good number. We'd ideally like to see it below 4, but again, I don't know if this is present on Bevintel results. But again, we have some sort of deeper statistics. We definitely like to dig deep into the numbers. Another element just from this first page, again, you see up here on this graph, this is tracking the liquor cost, and it's showing this top grey portion, the amount that the liquor cost is too high depending on missing products. So just a couple of things that our reports do. Next up, me and Dave talked about this in some detail, but we discussed the fact that sometimes there's errors in your Bevintel reports, and it's kind of frustrating when you're paying a professional service to precisely count, and then there are errors. We kind of flip this around, because if you're using our self-count system, the SpeakOut Pro, your managers would be doing the counting, so they're responsible for the accuracy. But then when they send the raw counts, we'll see where there are potential errors, and we'll send it back in our variance report. Our variance report looks something like this. So after you've counted, we've run the numbers. This is just an example. These guys on a particular keg, long day lager, basically the problem here was that they previously counted zero point 0.2 kegs. They said that none were invoiced, but then they counted 2.8 kegs. So obviously we can't grow kegs. The issue here looks like they had 3 kegs delivered, but this information would be sent to you before we send out your report, and the fix here would probably be along the lines of you indicating, okay, we need to increase invoiced number by 3 at minimum. We'd find that missing invoice, and then we'd move on to the next one. But you can see that when we start with you guys counting, and then we have this system for easily identifying an easy to use format where these potential errors are, it means that you just do a couple more checks, and when you send the report out, we don't have these errors anymore, and you're confident in using the reports. So then moving on, another element of our system we thought might work well for you guys is the ability to do spot checks. So the idea with spot checks is that typically the problem products is a small number of or a subset of the overall product. So we do full inventory audits on all of your products, and then when we see where the problems are, we then dial in those audits with our spot checker. We load up to 10 items you see here into the spot checker tool, and then we can perform spot check audits over individual shifts. Again, this does require the point of sale is optimized before we do this. But you see, this was a client of ours that did this. These are their problem products. And you can see here that the bit I would be particularly interested in is over this short period of time, how many drinks were rung and served. You see, overall, these guys actually did a pretty good job. They rang up 21 servings, they poured 22, but there's always a few opportunities to kind of dig deeper in the numbers. And simply, if you were to do this over an individual shift, if you come back to the bartender and you have these very specific conversations, you sit down together with them and figure out why there were these variances, you'll see benefits just in terms of they'll understand that we're really keeping an eye on top of these things. So, keg Corona, pretty much bang on. They actually slightly underpoured that, presumably by pouring a little bit more head. Then these next three products, they didn't have any sales or usage. Tuaca is a problem recurringly at this bar, so this is the one that's a problem here. You say, how is it that you possibly could have rung up 3 shots but then poured 5.5? Unless you are not using shot glasses, that would be something that you specifically say, that's not really up to par. Then I suspect this Bacardi 151 is used in an unusual way. So the question is, how did you use 3.3 shots and then not ring them up at all? Maybe that's something that we need to fix in the point of sale or our recipes. But again, we just have much more detailed information. So that's the spot checker. And then finally, of course, price is important. So here is a bit of analysis on price. So I understand that currently at Vivios, doing your full service Beventel audits, they are charging you $200 per 2 weeks. Obviously, there's 26 2-week periods in a year, so you guys are currently spending $5,200 per year on the service. Our standard pricing for 2-week audit is $150. We know we are directly compared to, so we're wanting to, to be competitive, and so we would be happy to offer you $125 per 2 weeks. So that would mean annually you'd have a cost of, again, 125 by 26, 3,200. So basically you're saving $2,000 per year. There is, though, some setup costs involved, so let's have a quick look at that. This is obviously on a per bar basis, so remember that we could save, in terms of the ongoing fees, $2,000 per year. Well, if you wanted to save back the money as quick as you can, if you do self-setups where you do the setup, we just mail the equipment, the cost of that would be $1,000 per bar, so that would obviously be paid off in 6 months, and then we'd be making no savings. We do recommend generally having us come out and do some setup with you. It will mean that the system implementation happens really well, and I think the main benefit would be that we'd help you with some organizational tasks that will mean that moving forward the counts will be as fast and efficient as possible. If you do that, I just looked up some prices for Detroit flying in. They're actually quite expensive with the right flight times, about $500, but because they would be potentially divided up by 2 bars, the cost is $1,500 plus half of the flights, and factoring in $100 a night for 3 nights accommodation at a local hotel. If we did the setup Monday through Thursday, you'd be looking at $1,900 per bar. Slight variance depending on our actual travel expenses, but obviously to be worked out. So if we did a self setup, we'd pay it off in 6 months. If we did the full service, it would be paid off in a year and then be making money. But again, just to refer back, I wouldn't personally want to purely think about the cost, because overall, our self-count clients get better numbers because they have a greater level of involvement, and overall the system kind of works better. So that's sort of a summary of what me and Davo discussed, really for the benefit of Dan, and Mijo. Just my thoughts, and obviously, you guys are on top of this, but we would love to get to work for you guys. So have a think, call me back, and we would love to get to work for you. We could, book some flights in July, and let's get to work. Thank you for your time and interest, sir, or gentlemen, I should say.